Okay, welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's Discovery Day live stream. We are back with one of the most. This is one of our top stocks, top one of the most anticipated live streams. We got Peter Hawley, CEO of Fabled Silver Gold. We're going to be talking about some very exciting news today of value creation. Which is the spin-off of the copper project. So we're going to have the copper dividend. Peter, first of all, welcome back.
Thanks very much, Jack. Glad to be here, and I'm glad to share some good news with the shareholders of Fabled Silver.
You have, you got a very large fan base. I know a lot of them are wearing the T-shirt right now, the famous FCO T-shirt. Infamous FCO T-shirt and everything. So for anybody that's just tuning in, our goal with these live streams is to bring you those stocks which have a 10x to 100x upside potential. So companies going after, multi-billion-dollar market opportunities with multiple catalysts in place, and right at that inflection point where value creation is going to happen. FCO, of course, fits all those checks off all those boxes. And especially now with this new spin-off of the copper business, that I believe is going to be a big catalyst for the stocks, for value creation. So, Peter, I think what we should do is let's start with that. That's the most exciting news, and then we'll talk about an update on the silver and everything else, and we'll answer questions.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Jack. And first of all, to the shareholders who are watching or whatever else. This is not a deflection of what's going on in Mexico, and I'm certainly looking forward to talking what's going on in the silver project after explaining the copper. So let me just explain in a very high level what this transaction is about. And this has taken quite a while. It's a lot of my time has been spent at this when I do have spare time, and as such the Fabled Silver originally was called Fabled Copper, and it had these copper assets. And the previous management, for various reasons I won't get into, failed miserably. And that's where I stepped in and took the silver focus. Meanwhile, I had to take time to evaluate these copper assets and to see what they're worth. And one of the problems, Jack, was that at the end of March, there was a property payment. And whoever negotiated these deals, it was the stupidest friggin' deal in the world. And this property payment that was due was $5 million. And there's no way in the world. I mean, so the first thing is to renegotiate that. And if you can't renegotiate it, we have to walk away. And we did. And we actually renegotiated for the sum of $200,000. And
difference.
A big difference. But you got to remember, I'm part Scottish, right?
Right.
So anyways, so that was the go date. Okay, what are we going to do? And we did a lot of work looking out for the Fabled Silver shareholders with taxation lawyers, because we didn't want to make this a taxable event if we were going to do something with the copper assets. So as such, what we're going to do under what they call a plan of arrangement is we will ask the courts of BC to set a date for a judgment ruling that will be held as the result of a shareholder special meeting. And that's probably going to be called in the latter part of July, Jack. And there'll be another news release out with the company with the exact dates, and also all the shareholders that get to vote at that meeting will be sent proxy materials and all this other stuff. So one of the questions that popped up is that, well, when can I get the shares or whatever? So what's going to happen for every 5 silver shares you have, you're going to get 1 copper share in the new company, free.
Okay, so if somebody has 10,000 shares of FCO, they're going to get 500 shares of FCO copper.
No, 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 no. 1,000 divided by 5.
Hold on, the math. Wait, if you have 10,000 shares of FCO,
Yeah,
how many shares?
divided by 5.
Okay, 200.
2,000.
2,000. Excuse me. 2,000. Okay, I gotta get
Yeah.
remedial math.
So if you had 10,000 shares of silver, you would end up getting 2,000 shares of copper. And that date for that exchange is right up to the date that the vote is being held at the special meeting. And then after that point in time, that's off the table. That's
okay. Well, okay. So wait. So this is So this is basically like a 20% dividend almost.
yeah. You could describe it as that, a non-taxable dividend. Yes, correct.
Untaxable.
No,
it's not taxed. Okay. So what? So this is actually a pretty good deal. So okay. So let's kind of recap. So the main thing, I think the main thing is that the copper assets that you have, they were legacy assets in the company before you came into Fabled.
correct.
So that was there. You got when you came in, it had this copper legacy asset. It had the silver project, which, and your main interest at the time was really the silver project. So again, it's not like what sometimes how it is in this business. Sometimes companies they jump onto whatever is the next exciting thing, and that's not the case here. This basically happens to be you just essentially lucked out that all of a sudden copper is super hot right now, and it's going to be even hotter.
Well, and you know what, Jackie hit the nail on the head. And the truth is that not only did we luck out, is that as we'll see very shortly in the presentation, that these are sizable copper assets. These are not little showings of this and that. These are substantial.
Okay, so this, in theory, this could be worth, the way copper is going right now. I mean, silver is, copper, this could be, in theory, worth more than FCO. So in other words, this 20% could be a game changer for investors.
Well, either way, it makes your cost base much lower going down the road.
In theory, let's say FCO is trading at $2, right? Let's say you get the big silver deal, the big silver, you get the big silver strike. But the way copper is going and the way you describe the price, and we're going to look at some of the slides. What if the Fabled copper is a $10 stock?
Yeah, never know.
I don't want to put words in your mouth. No, okay. But let's do this. You want to maybe run through the slides and then we'll go back to we'll talk about also. I think we got a lot of things about silver.
And to the people watching, I want to apologize for this presentation. We're currently working on one now that we've announced the creation of Fabled Copper. We're working on a proper presentation. So this is something I threw together just so you could understand of what you're getting for free. I
want to answer a quick question. This is a one-time dividend, right? You're not giving it, you have nothing else.
No. Yeah, I'd have to make more companies, Jack, and I just don't have it in me. Sorry.
Okay. By the way, I just wanted to correct. I think I have the symbol misspelled. FBSGF. FBSGF. Somebody just pointed this out. So let me just correct this on the banner here. Hang on a second. Peter, I can't believe you didn't remind me of this. This is FBS.
I'm too busy asking or answering your hard questions.
Okay, so FBSGF. We got that. Okay. This is we get the math is off today. The spelling is off today. Okay. So let's pop up. I want to pop up the slides on the screen, and you'll kind of give us a quick recap. We'll run through the thing real quick, explain to people what this project is all about.
Yep.
And here we go. Okay, so let's. How do we do this? Let me. Okay. I will. Yeah.
There we go. Okay, Jack, can you, for the people that are watching on the first slide, those big tubes, that was actually copper cathode, so solid pieces of copper, and that's how they're shipped. And when they go to a refinery or whatever to make, say, copper wire, then those things are cut down, smelted, and made into whatever material. But anyways, going on. If we can go to slide 3, please, Jack. So there's the property location of the copper assets. You can see the Yukon border. You can see the British Columbia border. And we're just southeast of the British Columbia border and just to the east of the Alaska Highway. Next slide, please. This is our claim holdings. It's kind of hard to see because it covers a large area. It's basically 3 very large blocks. And each block contains not only copper occurrences, but also copper deposits. And the one block referred to as the Neil property, the Neil has numerous copper assets in it, including the Neil vein. And the Toro property has numerous copper assets, including the Churchill. And the Bronson has numerous copper assets, including the Henson. So all of these are important, and we'll briefly run through them very quickly. Next slide, please. If we can zoom in on that, up top, yeah, just zoom in a little bit there, Jack. Thank you. So what I want you to note is 3 of these things are defined as deposits. And you can see up top in the yellow, you have Davis Keys, and underneath it, you have Churchill copper, then Fort Reliance and David Keys, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you'll notice, you'll see, for an example, on the Churchill, you'll see that approximately a little over 100 million, or can you zoom in a little over, there we go, a little over 398,000, or mine tons, yeah, 498,000 tons of ore were mined, actually from Churchill copper at a grade of about 3% copper. And the reserves in the ground was a little over 1 million tons. So that's leaving approximately 100 million pounds of copper in the ground. And the same thing if you look at the Eagle vein, et cetera, et cetera. These mines, or one mine, was developed, put into production. Second deposit was developed with tunnels going right through the mountain. Development ore kicked out the portals. And in the early 70s, the British Columbia government turned into a NDP government under Ed Broadbent and put a moratorium on mining. And these things have sat there since. But it's not only these big occurrences, it's what is causing them also. Next slide, please. So this is an example. Here's one that I have actually seen this vein. And from the valley floor, you go upwards for approximately 2,000 feet. And you go horizontally at the top of the mountain for about 1.4 kilometers, and then down the other side about 2,000 feet. And you can see it. And so a little description about what you're looking at. And then along beside this big vein system is a huge breccia. If we can go to the next one, please, Jack. That's what you're looking at. So there is the breccia and the vein. The vein's on the right-hand side, left-hand side is the breccia, and that's running up the mountain. Next slide, please. A little further down. There you go. And that's the other side of the mountain. And then that's the top of the mountain right there with the Neil vein, the breccia. And that was sampled systematically by channel samplings at the top. And it averaged 6.1% copper over 20.8 meters. And you can see it going down the mountain for almost 2,000 feet on both sides. So that's fairly substantial, I would say. We can continue on. Yeah, there's many here. There's Davis Keys, an example of the other one. The grades here are truly phenomenal, some of them, right off the wall. High as 24% copper. Massive chalcopyrite. That came out of one of the levels of the developed mine from the portal number 2. That's just massive chalcopyrite. So you as the shareholders, there's another example of mineralization. You're gonna own a piece of this. You're gonna own a very large percent of this copper asset, and I certainly hope you make lots of money out of it. And we'll do our best to develop this asset going forwards. What are our plans? I'll be coming out with a detailed news release over the next 2 or 3 weeks. There'll be one out shortly about the date of, this is a long, by the way, right here, this is a longitudinal section of one of the mines in the mountain, and the vein, the whole top of the mountain covered, and the top lines looking down, these lines, blue and red, those are actually the drifts going through the different levels. And that's the tonnage calculated through that. Interesting thing, they haven't drilled at depth, so you don't know how this continues. There's some assays right there. There's 24.47% copper from the Toro Churchill. Another one, there's actually cobalt there also. So 18.9% copper and quite a bit of cobalt. So the big picture is, there's lots of copper, but only why in a specific area. And that's what one of the things we're hoping to find out this summer, along with, we're using a lot of drone footage for doing special things. And if any of you watch Agoracom, I did an interview with George yesterday, and there's some drone footage on the property that we took. But this is very endowed with copper. It's going to be a very interesting summer. And it's one of these forgotten things that the amount of money spent on this property is tremendous since the 60s. To be able to do something like this again, who knows? So the question, like I said, is, what is it? You have these huge anomalies also that haven't been explained. And is that the source of the copper? So, Jack, that is the story on the copper.
Okay, so the copper story is great. Let's get to some questions on the copper project. We'll get to we'll talk about the silver project. Okay, so the bottom line is you're going to be getting essentially a 20% dividend, essentially for every 1,000 shares of FCO you have. You're going to be getting 200 shares of FCO copper, right?
Excellent.
200 shares. Okay. And this is going to happen in roughly 3 months?
What'll happen, there's a certain part of this we control, and then a certain part goes out of our control. So the court set the judgment date, which will probably be the latter part of July. That'll be coordinated with our special meeting, which will be the end of July. So it's actually going to be shareholders of Fabled Silver who decide if they want to create Fabled Copper.
Okay.
And they vote. Now, once they vote, this is where it goes out of our hands, because now this process that we just went through with our shareholders voting for it goes to the Toronto Stock Exchange. Toronto Stock Exchange says, yes, we recognize the shareholders vote. Yes, you can create Fabled Copper with this. Then the next step is, okay, now you're going to be publicly listed. And then during that point in time, of course, I'll be raising money for doing the field exploration work, which will start early July.
Okay. So this is okay. So basically, the shareholders have to approve it. This is going to be a couple of month process.
Yeah.
Now, who's the team? Who's the team that's going to be running it? Who's going to be who do you have there? Who's going to be the CEO? Because this is going to be a separate company essentially. It's in about
it is. It's going to be a separate company, and the field people that are going to be looking after this. I can honestly say, one chap, when I did my second degree at university, I went to university with him, and I spent a lot of time in the field with him over the years. and he's going to be heading what I call the East Coast team. And on the West Coast team, a lady by the name of Dr. Vanessa Barrett of Drones North, and she'll be manning the drone team, and along with the structural analysis in 3D. So what we'll be doing, and this is high tech, we will be flying drones, and drones will be sending out like a million point lasers, creating the topography in 3 dimensions, like a mesh in 3 dimensions. On top of that, it'll be taking minimum 5K photographs with a 30 centimeter, that's a foot, resolution. So it can be fine by taking pictures, and in 3 dimensions of it, actually any point in that picture, and you zoom in from 500 meters away to 30 centimeters, and there's a bunch of copper staining all around it. And now you know the exact XYZ at that point. You give that to your geologist, they give to the helicopter pilot. Okay, let's go look at this. Zoom, right there. Boom, you're on it. This is going to be interesting, Jack.
It's very, very high tech. So there could be some interesting catalysts, near-term catalysts in the copper project in the next couple of months.
Yep. Oh no, there'll be lots. There'll be lots.
Okay. In other words, there could be some news which could move that stock big time.
Oh, 100%. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay, so this is and you're going to be raising, I think, what, about $5 million plus for the
yeah, $5 or $6 million, Jack. Here in Canada, they have one thing where it's called a flow-through share, and basically it gives you a 30% discount on your taxes, and those are very common. So, but you can only spend it on properties in Canada, and of course this qualifies. So, I believe a portion of that may be done in that manner.
Okay, let's get to some questions here. Julia is asking, is there existing infrastructure process facilities at the Churchill property?
Oh, Julia, I'll tell you a story about this. And imagine this: in the late '60s, some mining companies were in this area, and they discovered the Churchill vein. And the Churchill vein ran up one side of the mountain, across the top, and down the other side. So they're so excited about this and everything else. They drove a road from the Alaska Highway up along these creeks right to the base of where this copper vein was, and then blasted a tunnel in there far enough in that they could get in there before winter set down in high altitudes, and then proceeded like the Seven Dwarfs to work the all winter long tunneling in the mountain and throwing the waste rock out and living there. And that was the beginning. And after it was all developed and in production, and the government changed and it was shut down, it's just sat there. And so that road has deteriorated tremendously. And I do know that there's 2 major bridges, and they have been washed out. Part of the field work this summer is actually flying the drone along the old road so we can evaluate it to be able to work with some civil engineering teams to guesstimate what it'll cost to revamp that road and just put up a camp right there.
Okay. What's the expected time?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's a long ways off. I mean, yeah, ask me again after this thing.
Okay. Let's see.
We said something about 8,000 meters. I think that's pertaining. Yeah. When will the 8,000 meters surface really?
We're talking about. We're talking about. That's the silver.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, let's first talk about the copper, and then we'll get into the. Okay. So please leave time for silver questions. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So the copper project. Okay. So realistically, so there's going to be some near-term catalysts. How big? I mean, how big can this really be? Like, how big? What's the upside possibility of?
Well, you saw one longitudinal section there, and it showed the side of the mountain and the tunnels inside it and everything else, and that contained in itself about 200 million pounds of copper. down to the level of the valley. Now, does that go any deeper? I don't know. And they took about 100 million pounds of copper out of that. Now, the next one over, the Eagle vein is the exact same thing, but has not been exploited, but it's been developed. And again, that has 100 million pounds copper plus, and open at depth. So the big thing is, Jack, you know, and I think where we're trying to do this summer is not only, you know, think out of the box, but also that, you know, we can get a drill program for next year set up and drill some of these major veins at depth and show that, you know what, they go down for another 1,000 feet or something. You have a major copper deposit vein systems, I should say. So, yeah.
Okay. So the plan for the copper is what is, I mean,
I have no idea, honestly. The only thing I can say, because of the size of the land package and the uniqueness of this and everything else, that if we can kind of explain where it's coming from in the bigger picture and everything else, this is certainly something that a very large copper-based company would be enticed on. So, and we just saw Rio Tinto. You saw that moved into took a big position in Casino in the Yukon on the copper play there. So,
yeah, there's talk right now of I'm not sure who said it was like $10 a pound copper. I think they're looking at.
Right now, it's probably about $4.60 right now. And I saw the guy that's saying he's an air conditioner guy. Yeah, there is. And actually, I'll tell you a funny story. And I know you don't want me to talk about silver, but I just got to tell him because he'll like this. Is as you notice, we increased our drill program from 8,000 meters to 9,200, Jack. The additional 1,200 meters is being drilled from underground. And so part of that is that these underground drills, because of ventilation, et cetera, they're electric. And so you need electric cable. And so we were looking at 450 meters of double-aught submarine cable, big spool of it, to use from the generator transformer down to the drill. It was so like I couldn't buy it. I couldn't warrant spending the money to buy that real wire. Like I just couldn't, because maybe it's a one-off or whatever. It was that expensive. So thank goodness I have lots of friends in Mexico. So I phoned up some other friends of mine that have some mines, and in their warehouse they had a couple of reels of this stuff hanging around, and they lent me their cable. So yes, I know how expensive copper is. Yes.
Yeah. Well, the main thing I think is all the electric cars that they're building. I mean, they use a lot of copper. This is.
Yeah, there's everything. It's a perfect storm. You're getting people coming out of COVID. They're going to start rebuilding again. Got electric cars. A lot of the big copper producers are getting tired now, so their price is going up, and all the rest of this stuff. So
yeah. Question, very important. Are you going to be the CEO of the copper company?
Mike, I don't know at this point in time. I'm CEO of Fabled Silver, and I'll drive Fabled Copper until it becomes a separate public entity. And then I'll see whether I actually have enough time to run two companies or not, or and who are you going to find? It's not easy anymore to find good people. So I got 2 or 3 months to think on that one, Mike. So I'll get back to you.
Okay. Let's talk about let's get an update on silver. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to go to the most current question. Okay. When can we expect to see results from the underground drilling? Will they be released as they received, or what's?
Okay, that's a great question. And actually, we are, believe it or not, today is the day that underground drilling has started. After a few hiccups. And this is going to be quite interesting because you're right in the middle, or as I said to someone else, the belly of the beast. You're right in the middle of the Santa Maria structure. So to the back of you is mineralization, to the front of you mineralization, and downwards. So we'll be drilling these spans from each drill station down through the mineralization. And these holes, they'll be 50 meters, 100 meters. They're not going to be big holes, so it's going to happen very fast. So you're going to see a lot of turnover of quick assays like crazy coming from underground drilling. So we'll be, as they come out and they're meaningful, as far as a section or something like that, certainly putting them out as fast as we can.
Okay. What is the drill plan on the silver property after hole number 16?
Well, we have changed things up a little bit since we last talked. I have not, well, first of all, just from the public, I'm not withholding any information or whatever, but I have not received any assays from hole 12, 13. We have submitted hole 12, 13. We have submitted hole 14, which has been completed with drill from surface. Hole 15 has been completed, drill from surface. Hole 16 went in yesterday, completed from surface. All of those, as of yesterday, I talked to the assay lab and I told them to put them on rush. And what rush means is going to cost me a lot of money, but I'll get the assays fast. So I would say, another week at the max, Jack, and I'll have these results for everyone. But and there is a delay, and it'll be fixed soon, and ALS apologize, et cetera. But I'm really excited about this. So we have moved the drilling around to certain areas. Very excited what we've seen. I think there's going to be lots of good news for the shareholders, not only coming out on that, but I've been working on another front in Mexico, of which I'm not at liberty to say. And for a while there was actually an internal blackout within the company. So I would say to you, silver shareholders, another week or something, and you'll start seeing some great stuff coming up. Plus, you got a free copper share.
Okay, so in the next week or so, we should get some news on the exciting news. Okay.
Well, we better, because I'm paying for it, so I better get my samples as fast as possible, or I'm not going to be a very happy guy.
Yeah. Okay. So we have Omar saying, what happened when you said that you'd be releasing constant exciting news? And he's saying there's only been a couple of news releases and nothing too exciting. So where is the big exciting? That's what Omar is asking.
I wish I could put out a big exciting news, Omar, but I guess you really don't want a copper share, a free copper share. I guess that's not big news. I don't know. When's the last time someone gave you something for free, Jack?
It's been a while.
Me too.
We got okay. So what question? Are there any issues causing delays? Can the second drill be used to drill above ground?
No. Well, you could probably use the electric drill to drill from above ground, but you'd be good as long as your extension cord is, and the extension cord is about 450 meter power cable. But no, we have a lot of drilling to do underground, because, like I said, say the average hole is 100 meters, okay, and I'm going to do a minimum 1,200 meters from underground. That's 12 holes in a hurry. So we'll see.
Okay, Peter, are you in negotiation to acquire more land with silver in Mexico?
I will say I'm always looking, and I will not comment any further on that.
Okay. No further comments. Sounds like you are. Sounds like something's brewing.
If I was in the United States, Jack, I'd probably take the fifth on that one.
What is one of the goals in the underground program to establish a depth of the Santa Maria project still open at depth? Correct.
No, that's a great question. One of the goals underground, there's a couple of them, but one of them is to be able to take the resource that's there, not only infill it, but move it to a higher category, which is measured. And measured is the step where you start becoming able to make reserves in 43-101 world. And so that's the purpose of that. So down the road, if you are going to go into a mining scenario, you're going to have real reserves with real mining plans behind them and everything else. So that's the first step of taking it further.
Okay. Do you feel that the Santa Maria is wide and predictable enough to cheaply mine? If so, what mining method and what is the grade cutoff?
That's a great one. And I'll tell you that Santa Maria structure and the north structure and everything else, it's the best of both worlds. And I'll tell you why. You have these very wide structures that are silver bearing, in some cases over 60 meters. And they're vertical, virtually vertical. And what that means is there's an underground mining method. It's called long hole mining, where you actually take out, it's almost like a cavern, and you blast rings underground. And you know, one of the last mines that I sold down in Mexico, we were, one of the areas we were doing long hole drilling, and we'd shoot off, 150,000 tons of blast underground, boom, 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 all these rings going. So we can do that, and that is the cheapest method you'll ever make. Or, depending if you want super high grade and you just want to mine the high grade, you can go after the high grade on the footwall side and the hanging wall side. So depending upon what the metal prices is, metal prices falls, it collapses, stuff in the middle that's mineralized is not worth money. Hey, you can still mine the high grade. Metal prices are high, you take it all. So that's both worlds.
Okay, let's see, what else do we have? Question about Peter. A few people have asked concern about the Mexican cartels. Do you think it could interfere with your business in Mexico?
No, for various reasons. No, we've operated in Mexico for too long. No.
Okay. All right, so I think we've pretty much covered everything with the silver. We've answered the questions with the copper. So the copper is actually an interesting, kind of like a little surprise, a little extra thing. That really basically can pay for somebody's shares of FCO in a few months with the way things are going with copper.
Could well be. Who knows what it'll do? I can't say it, but the project's real. It's not one of these things, where someone's looking for something with a smidgen of copper on it to hype it or something like that. This is real. Like, these are real friggin' copper deposits and everything else. So, and the economics is there. And you got to remember this, Jack. In the late '60s, when these guys were mining this, it was 80 cents a pound copper. And they don't, and you don't have the technology you have now and everything else. So, $4.60 a pound. Gee, a lot of these things.
And it could be heading to $10.
There's a lot of things, and there's some talk right now in Chile and Argentina, which are very big copper producers, that there may be some strikes down there. And if that's the case, that's very serious.
Okay, I guess let's wrap up the last question. What is the status of our relations with First Nations on the Muscle property?
Absolutely an excellent question, and I'm glad, Amanda, you brought that up. We have engaged our community relations officer by the name of Sid Nelson. And Sid Nelson is part of the band out of Fort Nelson. And Sid will be working very closely with us, not only talking to the trappers and hunters in the area that our claims are in, but also the clan chief and everyone else. But excellent question. Thank you for bringing that up.
Okay, excellent. All right, Peter, always good to have you on, especially when you come bearing free gifts, with the copper shares. Very, very timely, especially right now. I think by the time that people actually get these copper shares, the copper market could be red hot by then. There's nothing slowing it down. There's really a serious shortage.
Yeah, no. It'll be interesting. Meanwhile, we have a crew of 10 people starting in July and working till the snow falls. So we have the East Coast crew and the West Coast crew and helicopter companies and all the rest of it.
Okay, excellent. Peter, thank you again, and we'll catch up with you on the next exciting news.
Okay, be well, Jack.
Thank you again.
Bye now.
Okay, stand by for our next guest. We get a whole show of free gifts today. Value creation with dividends and everything. Let me just put this up 1 second. Okay. Okay, stand by. Okay, let's see. Vahid.
Hey, Jack. Can
you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. You get another, you get a new screen there. I just want to get, let me see, look, can you lower just the camera a little bit? I want to get us on eye level. Yeah. Okay.
Are you good?
Okay, here we go. Okay, which is ironic because I think about twice my height, right, in real life. so okay, perfect. All right, so okay, let me just make sure we have everything set up here. Okay, welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's next Super Stock live stream, May 20th. We are back with Victory Square Technologies, VST, on the CSE VSQTF over the counter. We have Vahid. He's the Chief Growth Officer. Vahid, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Vahid, let me just get everything is set up here. Okay, so for any, I'm just going to repeat this for anybody that's just joining us. Again, our goal of these live streams is to bring you those stocks which have 10x to 100x upside potential. So the company is going after multi-billion-dollar market opportunities, so massive opportunities. They have multiple catalysts in place that can create that value, and they're at a key inflection point where things are about to really explode. They're really at that threshold of explosive growth. And what makes Victory Square very unique is it's actually kind of the mothership that spun off one of our current 10 baggers, which is Fans Unite. Fans went from, 20 cents when we debuted last late August, to a high of, I think it was 250 we were at?
I think 220, 220.
Yeah, and before the pullback over the last couple of months, we had a little bit of a market pullback across microcaps, but that was a 10 bagger so far. Let me just add that because I think the move in Fans is not done. I really believe that stock is going to be $4.50, $5 in the next. I thought it would be by now, but it might take a few months longer. It might be October time. But anyway, so the reason I bring this up is really that VST is kind of gave birth to Fans, and you have a whole bunch more of these unicorns. You have a bunch more of these unicorn eggs that are going to be hatching. We're going to be talking about the next one, the dividend coming out of GameOn. Vahid, before we do that, can you just give a quick recap of what exactly, in your own words, what does VST do? What's the business model of how you create shareholder value?
Absolutely. So at VST, we invest, acquire, or build businesses that we feel is going to be the next generation of the services or tech. We work with them very hands-on. We're not passive investors. We work them very, very hands-on. Scale the business, commercialize the business, and then when the business gets to the point that is ready to be spun out, then we take them either IPO, spin out, RTO, or sometimes we have an asset that we find another public traded company that they can go through M&A and acquire that, and we hold the stock of that company. We have 20 plus portfolio companies right now in gaming, augmented reality, virtual reality, cybersecurity, renewable energy, plant-based food, that we're working with them. And
health tech, that's one of your
health
big
tech, digital health. We have quite a few portfolio company in digital health, and a few is coming out in the next few weeks that we're gonna have an announcement. So that's what we do at VST. As you mentioned, Fans Unite, one of our portfolio companies, spun out last May. Market cap when it went out was about 25-30 million market cap. It hit the high of 300 million market cap earlier this year. Next one is GameOn that we announced dividend on that. We have Immersive Tech right after, and potentially two more in next 6 to 8 months we're gonna have that is gonna be spun out.
Okay, so there's gonna be a lot of unicorns hatching coming up. So this is I think very exciting. I think when this type of thing, this kind of model has been done before. I mean, I don't know if in Canada, but in the US, there's been it was like Safeguard Scientific. We had, what was the other company that did it? It was trying to think. It was a huge NASDAQ stock. And I think investors, once they see this pattern of you doing these spin outs and they get these dividends, I think it's going to do tremendous things for VST. I mean, I think this is going to be a massive catalyst for the stock. Of course, also you're basically spinning out these really game-changing companies, no pun intended, game-changing. We have GameOn. So let's talk about GameOn. What is GameOn, and then we'll go into the details of the spin-out. So what are they? We had the CEO on. We had the video. People can watch it, but again, just give a quick recap, in your words.
So GameOn, originally the name of the GameOn was called V2 Games. That we acquired V2 Games for I think about 1.5 million back 3-4 years ago. V2 Games, they originally started with investing into the games and taking the loyalty from fees from them. Then still have holding in Men in Black new game that is going out, GameOn, or former known as V2 Games, has a stake in that. Then we acquired a company called GameOn app in December 2020. And the GameOn app is a technology that it's based on the gamification and just having a two-way relationship when you're watching a game, watching a series, watching the sports, that people can interact with TV. Nowadays, when we see that's the new generation, when you're watching any entertainment, want it to be a two-way rather than one-way. And we acquired GameOn, solid team, great team from the management team, CEO, a great tech. We completed the tech with them, hired more people. We wanted to do a financing before going public for 1.5. It was oversubscribed to 5.8 million. And we had to cut, a lot of interest and just close at 5.8. Then we tried to do the direct listing as a spin out of VST, so we're not going to be diluted, any of us, by going through RTO or anything else. And we received the conditional approval last week and the clearance from BC Security Exchange, so the final prospectus and everything is filed. And we announced that we're going through the last few steps that we have to go through it, from share deposits, the dividend had to be done that we promised the shareholders. We want to make sure to complete the dividend side of it as well, and getting ready for trading in next few weeks.
Okay, so basically, so the deal is for GameOn, how many shares? So if somebody owns right now 1,000 shares of VST, how many shares of GameOn are they going to get?
So the way we looked at that, we looked at our position at GameOn. It was hard because GameOn has a very tight structure. So outstanding shares in GameOn is not too many when it goes public. So we had to consider that our position at VSD into the GameOn, and we had to look at two different things. One, we definitely wanted to give out to our shareholders, and this is the first one, but it's not the last one. We wanted to do this for fans. We faced with some, hurdles, but in case of the GameOn, we got over that and we delivered that for our shareholders. So we look at our position at GameOn, and we wanted to achieve two goals. One goal, giving out to our shareholders for their support that they've been with us in thick and thin. The second part of it, we wanted to make sure there is enough in VSD that it supports our financials, that it goes out. Plus, that's what is going to help with our ecosystem, that we're holding these positions, and the VSD shareholders going to benefit of VSD holding these shares, as our financial is going to go up, as the number is going to go up, and also the power of the VSD to reinvest in other companies. So from our positions at GameOn, we decided to give up between 12 to 13% and distribute it within our shareholders. That if for the ratio of what they're holding for VSD, for 48 shares of VSD, they get 1 share of GameOn. So it's 1 to 48 or 49, roughly about that they're receiving the GameOn stock. But there are a few things there that we wanted to make sure that VSD shareholder take advantage of that. Number one, when GameOn goes out, has a very tight structures. There's hold on almost like VSD has a hold, GameOn app shareholders has a hold. There's a very limited number of the free trading stock out there. All the dividend shares that goes to the VSD shareholders is free trading since day one. So we wanted to make sure that the VSD shareholders take advantage of that. And they're going to be part of the origin of the unrestricted shares as soon as it goes out. So the cutoff date for that is end of trading day tomorrow, and then the deposit will be next Thursday. That between the two transfer agents, VSD transfer agents and GameOn transfer agents, it will be on next Thursday. Will be deposited, and the VSD shareholders should receive their shares probably anywhere between 24 to 72 hours after the deposit to the shareholder to transfer agent. They should see the GameOn shares, and right after we're just going to be trading and to make sure like all the shareholders receive their shares.
Okay, so basically, in order to get the dividend, the GameOn dividend, you need to own VST tomorrow.
By end of trading day tomorrow.
By the end of trading day tomorrow, you basically have to be a shareholder by the end of trading day tomorrow. So I think the math kind of works out to roughly 20 shares of GameOn for every 1,000 shares of VST, right? I'm not doing math well today. I had some math problems.
So the ratio is 1 to 4. For every 48 shares of the VST or 49 shares of the VST, roughly they're going to get 1 shares of GameOn. So just want to make sure I don't do the math wrong. So that's the ratio. Now, in the same board meeting and decision, that board made a decision that GameOn, the details for the GameOn dividend, they also approved immersive tech, which is gonna be listed right after GameOn in next, we're expecting to be Q2 or the Q3. Also, we're going to give dividend to our shareholders as well in the very same manner that we do with GameOn. Now, the details, percentages, again, it takes some time because we have to make sure, have all the final cap table. They do the cap table, also run it by auditors, the CSE, as well as the BCSC to make sure we can, satisfy all the requirements. But it's going to be another dividend for immersive tech as when it goes public as well.
Okay, so it's interesting. So the last, or actually the first and most recent spin out you had was really fans, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't quite it wasn't a dividend, but it was basically a spin out, and that became a 10 bagger. So I guess people are asking, can GameOn be the next 10 bagger? I mean, what do you see? Do you see anything in common between fans and GameOn? What are the commonalities you see there?
It's hard to compare both companies, but there are some major differences and some major similarity between the two companies. So the similarity is one of them is the industry. So they both were in a very forward-looking industry that we know is growing. It's not an industry that we feel is end of it, or that's an industry that is growing, and it's kind of complementary because GameOn can, as the online betting and sports grow, GameOn can become the lead generator for all those, and sending the users to them, because these users are doing a free play and having that engagement with them. So industries are similarity. That is a very promising industries. The second thing is team. So in Fans Unite case, Fans Unite had a very strong team, like Darius, and then later on with with Ascot team. It's a very powerful, smart, driven, knowledgeable team in their own industry and respectful people within their own industry. GameOn has a similar thing. So when you look at GameOn, Matt Bailey, the CEO, you brought him to the show. People talk to him. On board, Jay Moses from Take-Two. We have Liz, used to be a board member of Apple. Kerry Dillon, the latest addition to the board, used to be the vice president of Vancouver Olympic Games, president of Y Yoga. So a very solid record track for that. When you look at the advisors, we have from DraftKings. So team is strong. Now, one big difference that I can see is when Fans went public, they went through RTO. So the structure wasn't as tight as GameOn because there was shareholders within the RTO company. GameOn, we did it as a spin out. So, and also even the raise was non-broker. So VSD quarterback the whole thing, making sure the structure is tight and there's not too many. The shares is not too many outstanding shares. And the shares is going to be based on the schedule, so we know we're going to get the maximum value for our shareholders. So that's the biggest difference that I can see, that GameOn is a very tight structure when it goes public. And already the GameOn team from the officers and management, senior management team, and also board has lined up enough a good pipeline for M&As or the partnerships and all that is just going to start going to the game. So that's the biggest thing, and I don't see any reason for GameOn not to do well when it goes public, because they have every elements of the in the checklist that needs to be done for a company to do well in when they get listed.
Okay, so the market cap, the valuation of GameOn, what is it going to be approximately at the?
So I think when it goes public, it's going to be around 30 to 35 million market cap, which is again, our philosophy is not to push it for the highest, is for the market to drive to the real value, and shareholders will be happy, and the market is just gonna value the company based on what is in it and what it's doing, rather than going up and we're just going to see a big dip as soon as we.
No, it's good. It's good. You leave some money on the table for people to make money in the stock and then let the market figure out. Okay, so we had a question. What percentage of GameOn will VST, I guess he said, will hold? I mean, nothing is forever. I mean, you're basically, the idea is, from what I understand, is you want to, so things out, take a profit, go into the next deal. Basically.
So I'll tell you about usually the framework that we create was very similar to Fans Unite as well. We're still holding about 11 million shares of Fans Unite, and that VSD already has. So for the GameOn, so there is one part of it is our shares, that I think about 14-16 million shares that we have by the time that we go public. The other side of it is 1.4 million convertible notes that we have with GameOn that VSD can take it at 25 cents per share, or is going to be cash that is coming back to the VSD. Very similar thing that we had it with Fans Unite. Obviously, our biggest goal right now is GameOn to do well. And we're not the type of the investors, but we believe in our companies. It's not that we want to, kind of like a pump and dump to just take it to the public and sell our positions. Again, Fans Unite is a good example. We're still holding 11 million shares from Fans Unite, roughly. The same thing with CNI. Same thing with. It's going to be very similar for GameOn. Now, nothing is forever. We're going to look at it. We're just going, looking at it as a long-term play for us. We're going to be involved. We have board members from on GameOn. We're going to work with them hands-on to make sure the company hits the milestones. And again, then we'll decide what we're going to do with our position. If you gradually want to have an exit, if you want to, liquid part of it after a year and a half, or 2 years. So there is no. There is nothing written on the stone, but that's the framework that we have. Beside our shares, we also have a convertible notes in GameOn that we can take it as cash, or we can convert at 25 cents.
Okay, no, so there's a lot of catalysts here. Okay, by the way, what's the image behind you? You have a new, every time you're on, you have a new.
It's one of my favorite people, because. And again, that quote in the interview, I took it personally, really resonated with me in my life, when I was playing sports in a professional level or just at business. So in the GameOn case, and that when we started it, was a lot of pressure from us that the dividend is not going to work out, that you're not going to, it's not going to go public on time, and a lot of these things. But again, being focused and focusing on the framework and fundamentals of the business, the whole VSD team and GameOn team, we could pull it off. And again, one thing that we're going to do it in next 30 days, in the next corporate update, we're just going to have that corporate update and compare that with what we sent out in December as what we're going to do. The majority of the things that we promised and we wanted to do in 2021 will be done by June, and has been delivered, and it's going to be, the next is going to be what we're planning right now. So it's for us, is about delivering to our shareholders. It's about like what we say we have to deliver. Now, it's going to be, again, timing might be up or down, but having that intention to deliver what we promise. And if you look at in December, we talked about GameOn going public, giving the dividend, having a online pharmacy component, e-commerce that we did with Hydrate. So many of the things, immersive going public and do dividend. So many of the things that we promised in December time, we tried to deliver it. And I think by June, 80-90% of that has been delivered. And then we're going to do the same thing in next half of the year to deliver more for our shareholders.
Okay. We got an interesting question here. So okay, as Anthony is saying, some people say that VST's value should be only looked at by basically saying that VST should be based on its NAV. Do you think that's fair? I think VST is massively undervalued. From doing my own deed, do you guys feel that as well?
That's a very good question, Anthony. So the way I look at VSD is undervalued based on the assets and what we're doing. What we're missing in the VSD side was having a track record of what are based on our formula, that we're going to find the companies, we're going to grow the companies at the massive multiple, we're just going to take it public. And we've been seeing the original cohorts for us started about 2-3 years ago, that we had these companies acquired and worked with them hands-on. Starting 2020, we started to spin out these companies and seeing the value. Fans was example, acquired for $2 million, went public for $25 million, right now being traded for $100 million. In the VPN business, we acquired that business for a few $100,000 under Aspen, sold it for $6 million under CNI, and now we're holding that. Same thing for V2 Games, GameOn, Immersive, Hydrate, and we have Stardust Solar that we're finalizing the contract. That company is ready to be a spin out as soon as we acquire the company within a few months, because everything is there. That is going to show the market that VSD is actually the formula. This is the formula, and this the record track is working. Then we're going to start seeing the multiple and how the market is going to appreciate what we have, and is beyond the numbers and is beyond just the name of the companies. So what you see in our NAV, you're not seeing the companies that we own over 50%. It doesn't come in our NAV. So in our Q4, you don't see anything from GameOn, Immersive, Hydrate, Discrete Care, Draft Label. You don't see about any of these companies because it doesn't come based on our IFRS. It doesn't come into our NAV. So if you have unaudited and non-IFRS NAV, it's 3 or 4 times more than what you see there, because those are the companies that we don't have the control over, and they recognize the value for those companies.
I think the way I would say is, look, I mean, VST should be, you can't value based on the NAV. It only tells you a very small part of the story. It doesn't tell you, it tells you basically what was yesterday. It doesn't tell you what the future is. because really what you're investing in is the team that creates the value. It's almost like you're valuing a restaurant based on, the food ingredients that they have in the freezer that they can make right now, based on what they could, put out. You're buying a restaurant based on the chef, the whole package, not based on the the amount of the meals that they could deliver for the next day or so. So
and the other thing is about the NAV. Another side thing. So when we acquire companies or we acquire assets or build assets, we don't only look at it on taking it public. We see how we can reuse that to get multiple like values from that. Give you an example on the VPN case. So we still have the code for the VPN and we can use it for other one. We skinned it, we developed it the way that CNI wanted it, sell it out. In the case of again, we talked about discrete care. Discrete care originally we wanted to go with as a white label for another tech out there that they were charging ridiculously high. Then we decided we build it on top of the hydrate. So you're going to hear something about discrete care in the next 2 weeks. Not only the discrete care will be ready, but also right now we have the tech for the whole end-to-end thing. And we're going to stop white labeling that to other people who wants to offer something similar anywhere in the world, because now we are a software as a service company that they're getting a multiple on the tech as well. We have the same thing with online. So we have the core of the foundation and the tech for right now for online datings, for online pharmacies, for app for similar to Hydrate, discrete care, VPN. So these are the assets that under draft label, we're going to start white labeling it to other company and take a percentage of whoever wants to use that with their own skin, and we make money off that as well. So that's something that never comes into your NAV. Simply, these are the assets that we have it, and we're just going to reuse it, and obviously add multiple components to it. But the core is ready for us, and we can reuse them all.
Yeah, I mean, so basically, if you look at the NAV, is kind of like you're buying the golden eggs, whereas VST, basically you're buying the goose. So the goose has a much bigger value than just the number of eggs that are out there right now. You're buying a future. So I'm actually surprised that the VST is not trading at $3-4 already. I mean, the market cap is what, 50 million US right now, which is nothing.
I think it's about 60 million, 60
Canadian.
Right now, yeah.
Canadian, yeah. I mean, it was a US 60 million.
Yeah, no, right now I think we're trading roughly about 85 to 80 million Canadian, which comes to 60 million US.
So
but again, we don't look at it short term. If the fundamental is there, record track is there, delivering what has been done, we'll look at this in a time frame that how the market is going to validate this model, and is just gonna give us the value that the VSD actually has, rather than focusing on day-to-day things and be reactive. So we rather to be proactive and create the fundamental for the company and the framework for the company that is going to work out.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is once the GameOn dividend comes out, maybe then the immersive one, then I think people are going to look at VST in a whole new way, and that's when you're going to have that kind of this valuation gap close, and then all of a sudden they're going to be valuing VST as the goose that lays all these golden eggs, and that is going to be worth a lot more than what is it, the 80 cents? It could be it should be, I don't know, at least 4x minimum from based on what it is right now. I mean, today the stock should be, I don't know, $3. So I'm pretty surprised that it hasn't. But it's actually, you've been holding. Yeah, the stock's been very stable with everything that's been going on in the markets. It's actually been doing okay, surprisingly, compared to Kathy Wood at ARK, the ARK fund. So basically, you're like an ARK, but for early stage.
That's true.
Let's see here. So so again, this guy he understands what's going on. Okay, Vide, let me kind of wrap up here with what else. Okay, so what else do you have in the pipeline? What other exciting things can investors expect from VST in the next 4 to 6 weeks?
In next 2-3 weeks is going to be some update and launching on some of the digital health components that we promised is coming out. Stardust Solar, we had the LOI. We're finalizing that contract so we can get that going. That's one of the renewable energy companies that is it's already in the revenue, scalable, and is ready to be spin out. Immersive is going public, and we're going to have the detail for the dividend on that. There are also 3 other projects that we either investing, acquiring, or building in creator economy, in solar and renewable energy and plant-based food that is going to be in the next few weeks is going to be announced. And also, there's going to be some details about the GameOn from the listing perspective and all that is going out that we're going to do. And also our financials for Q1, it will be at end of May that we're going to file and we're going to announce.
Okay, I got a question. Will Covalent and Copilot be reevaluated and be included in the Q1 results? Are you able to say which will be the third company that you're going to be spinning out?
So that's a great question. So Copilot was reevaluated in Q4, but because we have ownership over 23%, we didn't get the fair market value. So we had with the original value, and the fair market value right now, Copilot is going through a crazy, they're on track for triple, double. So, but because again, we're over 24%, the auditors didn't give us the fair market value for that. So it's not gonna, again, on Q1, it's not gonna change unless we take the company public or we do a financing that we be diluted, and then it's gonna come to our books. Similar with the Covalent, the Covalent is going to be probably on the Q2, or that we're going to reevaluate the valuation for the company. And again, it depends on auditors because there is no written rules. Anything over 20%, depending on other investors, if there is no bigger investors than we are, or we're the top 2, they're not going to give us the fair market value because they feel we have the factor control on the company, and we're not going to get the fair market value into our financials. That's why we're thinking at some point we're going to announce our unaudited NAV, which is going to be based on the percentage of all these companies and what has been valuated. Because right now we're not getting anything from Copilot, we're not getting anything from Hydra, we're not going to get.
I don't understand, Vlad. I don't understand. I really don't get it. Why aren't investors looking at this as really what it is, which is like this unicorn farm, like an early stage, ARC, like a Kathy Woodcut. Why aren't people saying that you and Shaf are like Kathy Wood?
That's a lot of credit.
It doesn't make any sense because these early stage things, you already have the validation from you monetized a bunch of them. You got fans, you got these other things. It's crazy that the micro market, the CSE, the penny stock investors have not caught on to the story. This is like one of the most it's like right in front of them and they're completely missing it. So maybe I'll wrap up in your own words. What would you say in your own words, Vlad, the top 3 reasons why investors should want to own VST right now?
The first one is about the number of the shots that you get on the go. Again, I know some of the investors may be tired of this phrase, but that's the number of the shot that you get on the go. We have multiple different companies, we're always acquiring more, and we have shown our ability to scale up these companies, working with them, taking it public, and taking advantage of that. That's number 1. Number 2, because the company started from 2-3 years ago, and the whole factory started from 2-3 years ago, there's a lot of catalysts ready to go out. And right now, this is the time that you're going to see these results. And again, GameOn is the first one that's going dividend. But what we're trying to do, we're trying to be truly partner with our investors. When we signed the deal with CNI, we had a part of the contract we can give out up to 15% of our position to our shareholders. We did the same thing for GameOn. We gave out 12%, 13%. We're going to do the same thing with Immersive. So even just holding the VST shares, they're going to start getting everything as VST is growing, because we won't be the true partner with them, because they were a true partner with us when we needed it. So this is the other thing that is happening. The second and the third reason is record track of the company. We try to deliver what we promise. We try to deliver what we plan. Again, every company has ups and downs. Pivot is part of the business. but we don't want to be a fluff company. And again, go back, look at our corporate update in end of December, and then see what has been delivered and what is going to be delivered in next 2-3 weeks. That was our plan for 2021. Now, we're ahead of the schedule. We're going to do more. And again, to us, it's a race. It's not, again, like we're not looking at it as short term. If you're ahead of this race, we're going to win at the end. And we're looking at this together with our shareholders, because, in the tough time, they were behind us, amazing shareholders, feedback, communication, and truly as a VSD team, we feel super grateful for having these people around us and supporting us.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, and it really fits into our whole like next super stock model, because you have, again, you're going after these multi-billion-dollar opportunities. You have these, the multiple catalysts in place. You have 20 plus portfolio companies. You have these 20 shots on goal. So multiple catalysts, which any one of these could be a game changer for the company, worth more than the whole, than the sum of its parts. And right now is actually that inflection point is really right now. It's been happening. I mean, you could say that it was, when you first announced GameOn, but I think the inflection point is right when people see that, okay, these guys are going to start, these unicorn eggs are going to start hatching. It's not just a one. It's not a one trick pony. It's not just fans. Yeah. They got 20 of these things potential. Yeah. So when people realize that, when that perception changes, you're going to see some incredible things. Okay, let's see here. Okay. This is a great question here. Great question. I'm going to put this up about. Okay. So fans, then OTC have like 3 months. So when is GameOn going to be over the counter?
We have started that already for GameOn. So we're looking at DTC eligibility, OTC, and also Frankfurt. So we started that already for GameOn, and we're expecting to be, pretty much right after getting listed. Some of these things, I mean, just to let the shareholder knows, it's not in our hand. It's kind of like a process that we have to go through it. So they're going to be question and answer. In case of the GameOn, we're expecting to go public about a month ago, but last minute they asked for something that was not urgent in the requirements. In all good nature, to make sure like it's a legit company, we had to work on those documentations and audits and more details on the audit. So we started that process already for OTC and DTC eligibility, and we're expecting to be done up and going listing. But again, whatever is some of them is going to be depending on the regulatory bodies and process and question and answers.
Yeah, no, I think people are asking about uplisting. I think what it is. I think at some point, I mean, this is probably a little bit early to talk about, whatever. But again, like if you were like a NASDAQ company, I mean, the value, you'd have then you would be, a direct comparable to like an ARC or one of these other other type of companies. So
I agree with that. We haven't started this discussion and this process from late last year on uplisting, and team has been looking into it for TSX, TSX.V, or NASDAQ. Each has its own requirements. Some requires more raise for us to do. Some requires for us to, have a higher stock price. We're just looking at all the options and kind of do the analysis on the advantage and disadvantages, but 100% agree with the shareholders. We've been getting this feedback from the shareholders, and it's not we put it aside. We're working on that. We just want to make sure the decision that we make is the right decision at the right time for our investors.
Fantastic. Vahid, thank you again. Thank you, everybody, for joining our live stream today, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you again.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. And again, for all the shareholders watching me, we appreciate you. Continue giving us feedback.
Thank you again, everybody.